Welcome into the Kansas City Chiefs Report. I am your host, Harrison Graham. It's early here on a Monday morning, heading into the office here in about an hour or so. But there is Chiefs news to get to as Orlando Brown is ending his holdout. Plus, Deshaun Watson suspension news just dropped. Stay later on in the video. We'll react to that as well and how that could impact the Kansas City Chiefs this season. But let's talk about the news of the day for the Chiefs, and that is Orlando Brown. Robert Griffin III actually breaking this news at about 6 a.m. Central Time this morning that Orlando Brown Jr. will report the Chiefs camp, he tweets, and play on the franchise tag. Sources close to Brown say he's in the best shape of his life and knows how important the first 5 days of pads are for him. Pads go on today at Chiefs camp. The team and to head coach Andy Reid, Mahomes gets his left tackle back. So Orlando Brown is heading to St. Joseph today, and by all accounts will be out there at practice, which is a good thing, right? I think at the end of the day, everyone should be happy with this outcome. He skips the first week of camp with the pads not on. No big deal. And hey, it allowed the Chiefs to try some different combinations for a few days on the offensive line. So I think maybe there's some value in that as well. I don't think Orlando Brown missing 4 non-padded practices is going to make or break this team this year. So I think this is a good outcome for Kansas City as, like RG3 said, Orlando Brown is back and Patrick Mahomes gets his left tackle back. So holdout is over. He will sign his franchise tender and play under the franchise tag this year. Michael Portner actually confirmed that. Portner being Orlando Brown's agent, of course. Tom Pelissero reported that. He actually dropped a quote here from Michael Portner saying, quote, he wanted to be there for padded practice because that's when leaders are developed. Now, I don't know about leadership being developed just because the pads go on, but I understand what he's saying and wanting to be there when the pads do go on. It really allows you to kind of really ramp up into football shape and football season because you start hitting people, you start getting hit. That's that takes some time for the body to get adjusted to. So he is back into the fold as the holdout ends after about a week. And let's be honest, this was not gonna go on much longer, I don't think. Maybe it could have gone closer to week 1, but I'll explain why. He was never going to skip any games in just a moment. How excited are you to have Orlando Brown back? Scale it from 1 to 10, 1 being not excited at all. They should trade him, which I did see some of you guys say that. 10 being super amped, excited to have him back in the fold. I'm at like a 9. You traded for this guy. Brett Veach said yesterday that they still want to pay him long term. Get him back this year, play well, and then pay him next offseason. I think that is very much a good thing. Scale from 1 to 10, how excited are you to have him back? Now, the reason this was never going to lurk into the regular season is, bottom line, Orlando Brown Jr. doesn't have any leverage. They didn't get a long-term deal done, which meant he was going to have to play under the tag this year. It's not like holding out could get him more money for this year. The Chiefs don't have the option to pay him more money this year. The $16.6 million or whatever it is for the tag for him this year, that's as much as he was ever going to make once that July 15th deadline came and went. So, sure, maybe he sends a little message, skips 1 week of camp, but end of the day, he was going to have to show up and play this year, and he's probably thinking, well, shoot, I might as well show up now because if I don't show up until week 1 and I'm rusty and I don't play well, that's costing me money down the road. So he gets back now, ramps up. Hopefully by week 1 he's full throttle. He should be well over a month until that opening game. And if he plays well this year, if he plays like he played the second half of last year for an entire season, he's going to make a lot of money. He'll probably reset the left tackle market, if not come close, in off-season from now. So I think this is a smart decision for him to go ahead and report. I get he's probably a little frustrated that he didn't get a big long-term deal that he wanted, but he's in a position to do very well for himself if he performs at a high level this year. So Orlando Brown back in the fold, back at camp. Holdout is over as he does report to St. Joseph today. This is why you subscribe to the channel, because whether we're at home, we're in the studios. We're going to hit you with the latest Chiefs news and rumors whenever information drops. So go ahead and subscribe and don't miss anything. Plus, later today, every Monday, we started last week, brought it back last week after about a month off, but our live shows are back. 3 o'clock Central today, we will go live, get you caught up on the latest, Chiefs storylines from training camp. So stay tuned. We'll have you covered during that. 3 o'clock Central today, plus live mailbags where I get to answer your questions. So be sure to join us at 3 o'clock this afternoon. All right, Orlando Brown back, holdout over. I think I've covered that pretty well. Let's talk about the news of the day in the NFL, and that is Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson being recommended, and I do want to explain the difference here, to receive a 6-game suspension by Sue Robinson, who the NFL hired as a third-party basically source to look at these cases and then give recommended suspensions and rulings and fines, etc. She came to the conclusion that Deshaun Watson, after all the massage therapy drama, needs to get a 6-game suspension. Now, this is a tricky one publicly because, all kinds of accusations are out there. The troubling part is in criminal court, multiple cases have been dropped. Nothing's been able to be proven, at least enough to pursue a criminal trial. And number 2, out of 24 civil cases, 23 have now been resolved. Deshaun Watson and accusers have settled on 23 of 24. There's only 1 remaining as of last night. I don't know if that weighed in Judge Sue Robinson's decision at all, but I think it's one of those tricky ones where it's like, did he probably commit misconduct? I think he probably did. I wasn't there. You guys weren't there. We don't know for sure. But the reality is in criminal court, nothing was able to be proven at a high enough level to go to a criminal trial. So I think it puts Judge Sue Robinson, the NFL, in this tough spot of like, we think he did wrong things. There's a lot of accusations, obviously, 24 plus. Apparently, he met with over 65 different massage therapists, which is, quite frankly, just a weird fetish, if you ask me. But hey, if you meet with that many people and you don't commit any wrongdoing, I guess to each their own, but it's very weird. I will say this, Miss Robinson did say that from now on, all massage therapy, he has to go through team masseuse. Like, he can't find independent massage therapists. He's got to go through the team. So that's part of this as well. It's a tricky one, man. I do wonder if more evidence comes to light, physical evidence possibly. Could that change down the road? And by the way, I do want to add this. The NFL can say, screw that, we're handing Watson a different suspension. This is just a recommendation. At the end of the day, Roger Goodell and his office has final say on what the suspension is going to be. Now, if they say, you know what, forget that, we're doing a full season, you can bet Watson's going to sue and the NFLPA is going to counter that and not be happy. The NFLPA released a statement last night saying we are going to accept Judge Robinson's ruling regardless. Now, maybe they had a tip that it was going to fall in this 6 to 8 game range, which they would be comfortable with. Because obviously, if you're Deshaun Watson at this point, you missed all of last year with drama with the Texans, didn't want to play there, all this stuff going on. You wake up this morning, you get 6 games, you're like, sweet, I'm done with this. Missed the first 6 games, and then I could start playing football again. The NFL may not settle for that. And you got the public outcry already starting that Calvin Ridley, while he was away from the Atlanta Falcons last year, bet on the Falcons to win a game as part of a parlay. It wasn't even just a straight up Falcons versus opponent game, and he received a year-long suspension. Now, you start dealing with gambling and betting, how that impacts the league. I get all that, but it'd be one thing if he bet against the Falcons and gave the Falcons' opponent some tips like, hey, this is what they're going to run, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. Doesn't sound like that was the case. He bet on the Falcons as part of a loose 5-team parlay or something like that. He gets hit with a year. So if I'm Calvin Ridley, I'm like, hang on a second. I need to be appealing the suspension because my $11 million salary I'm not making this year, and it rolls over to next year. Deshaun Watson missing 6 games, and the way the Browns structured his contract is losing less than $1 million. So it's a weird one. The NFL at times has looked hypocritical in terms of how long these suspensions have looked for certain things compared to others. Just something to consider. Now, how it impacts the Chiefs, I do want to mention Chiefs don't play the Browns in the regular season, but if the Browns can survive the first 6 weeks, say they go 3-3 or even 2-4, and they're still afloat with Jacoby Brissett, who would start the first 6 games, assuming it is a 6-game suspension. Again, the NFL can step in and change that. But let's just say he misses 6 games. The Browns are very much in the playoff hunt, and if they make the playoffs with Deshaun Watson, that's another contender. I mean, this Browns roster is really loaded. Watson, at that point, will have not played in an NFL football game in about a year and a half, but we know what he's capable of on the field. He's a really, really good player, so it could be another team in the AFC to worry about because, the AFC is loaded this year. Bills, Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos with Russell Wilson, now the Browns. Joe Burrow and the Bengals I don't think are going anywhere. Lamar Jackson's back and healthy with Baltimore. The Dolphins, the Patriots. There's not bad teams, man. You look around, there's like 2 or 3 teams where you're like, they're not ready yet. Jets, Texans, maybe a couple others. It's a good conference, man. And the Chiefs are I still think the favorites are close to the favorites with maybe Buffalo and a team or two, but this is going to be a tough year in terms of there's no weeks off. Not that there ever is in the NFL, but sometimes you can look at a game or two and be like, all right, that's a game you're going to win. That's a game, if you lose, you really didn't show up. Not many of those on the schedule this year. There just isn't in the AFC. So there you go. Busy Monday morning in the NFL. Orlando Brown reporting to St. Joseph. Deshaun Watson receiving just a 6-game suspension recommendation. We'll see what the NFL does. It's going to be fascinating to follow and see that play out. Just curious, how many games do you think Deshaun Watson should have been suspended? Let me know in the comments section down below. Just gauging Chiefs Kingdom to see what you guys think on this one. All right, I'm Harrison Graham. We're going to sign off here as we call it a morning here on the Chiefs Report. Again, live show, 3 o'clock Central today, so subscribe, turn on those notifications so you don't miss when we go live. I'll be answering all your questions. We'll see you this afternoon here on the Chiefs Report.